Hello, can you hear me? Well, oh, there we go. Nice. And this is more real time. Okay, cool. So, not bad. Let's see. Um, let's get started. Okay, so we went live. We're going to put an URL here. Web app framework that's easy to use. We'll just say like front end framework. We'll say web app. Okay. Post it. We'll say building a web app framework that's easy to use. 11:30 a.m. EST to 2 p.m. EST. On Twitch. And oh, now I gotta start chatty. Nope. We'll say live coding. Cool, cool. Connect. Okay. And submit. Okay. So we posted that to Twitter. We're going to say we're going to post in here on Twitch. Hey, Cycle Motion. Hey, Cash Bear. Hey, Lurks. How's it going? I'm just telling people about the live stream right now, and I'm going to I'm going to start working in a second. How's it going? How are your days going? Let's see. Okay, gonna post it one more place, I think. Watch people code, Twitter, work in progress chat, happy learners. What's up again? If you guys want to join. Okay, cool. So, yeah, let's, what are you guys up to? Are you guys just hanging out and coding yourselves, or what are your days looking like? So the first thing I'm going to be working on is documentation for Remake. Right now, I have the Remake.js website where you can see all the documentation that I have so far, but it's not super well organized. There's a high-level overview that kind of lets you know the basics of the framework, but there's nowhere where you can just see all of the data attributes that Remake uses for all of its superpowers. I'm going to edit this. A powerful data attribute based libraries for building performant web apps. That's good. And we'll say remakejs.com. Okay, cool. So I already have a list of a bunch of the documentation and I'm going to use that as a starting point. I think I kind of forget where it is, where the documentation is. Let me think. Okay, maybe it's in... Nope, that's where the website stuff is. Let's see. I got... where did I put it? Hey, Commander Root, how's it going? How's your day going? I'm looking for Remake.js's documentation right now so that I can make like a quick reference card so that everyone can see very easily what you can do with Remake. I'm trying to find it, but it's it's been a while since I've used it. So this is where I keep the main Remake.js code. I'm trying to think, where did I put the documentation? Oh, I think it's in an earlier project. Yeah, probably in here. Nope, that's the website. Okay. I swear it's data type. If we search for that, we'll probably come across something. Okay, so I'm not sure if I can actually find this documentation. Hey, a good ob. How's it going? Yeah, I'm working on a framework right now called Remake.js. You can see it, see all the documentation at remakejs.com. That'll redirect you to this GitHub. And I'm just trying to make a framework that's based on data attributes so that you can just use data attributes in combination with HTML, and then you get like all the powers of a web app pretty much. So it's allowed me to like create a web app in like under a day in the past, and that's compared to like it usually takes me like a week. Yeah, hey, how are you doing? What are you working on? Are you working on your own project right now? Um, I am trying to find the documentation file for this, for a remake. I guess it's not a markdown file. Here we go. There, we got it. Okay, so I'm making a kind of an outline. Oops, I didn't mean to switch that. So I'm making an outline of all of the attributes that Remake uses so far, and then I'm going to add like a quick description to each one of them. Yeah, this will be useful too. Okay, so let's open up our Markdown editor called TypeAura, and we'll use this to document all of the data attributes. So we'll copy this in here. So Remake has 3 parts. The first part is switch.js. The hey S1 Faka, how's it going? The second part is input and output.js. So we're going to do output.js for this one. And then we'll create a new one for input.js. So if you guys are curious, what I'm working on right now is creating a quick reference card for Remake.js, just so that if someone comes across it and they just want like an overview of everything you can do with it, they can just have like a place they can see it all. And it'll also help me because sometimes I forget like all of the data attributes that come with it. So we're going to say a data attribute web app framework for building a data attribute framework for building web apps quickly. Okay, cool. So we'll do switch.js, output.js, input.js, and I guess we'll say it's like copy layout.js. Layout.js. Okay, so switch.js allows you to treat the DOM as a state machine. Meaning you can switch or toggle, we'll say toggle the state on an element, turning it on or off. And we'll say on one or more elements. Elements at the same time, turning them on or off. Hey, Slow Cool, how's it going? What are you working on right now? Are you working on your own projects or just here to chat and watch? So the switch.js, output.js, input.js. I'm documenting a framework right now, and it is a data attribute based framework for building web apps quickly, and I'm explaining like the different parts that it has, and then documenting like each of the data attributes and what they do, what their what their powers are. So we just went over switch.js. It allows you to treat the DOM like a state machine. You can toggle the state on one or more elements at the same time, pretty much like enabling them or disabling them. The next one is output.js. So this one allows you to serialize the DOM, extracting data from like a root node, I guess, a root node into a nested data structure. So it basically allows you to treat the natural tree structure of your DOM like it's a nested object with nested arrays. And you can extract that data from the DOM using output.js. Input.js allows you to edit the data that's attached to the DOM using output.js. So we'll say allows you to attach data to the DOM. And we'll say serialize it for easy extraction. So I'm making a web framework. Hey, the noob life. I am making a web framework that makes it like very, very simple and easy to create a web application, like in like a day rather than like a few weeks. So the idea is that you use data attributes to attach data to the DOM, and then you use another framework, another library, sorry, to edit that data, and then you can use some of the other utility libraries, and you basically never have to write a line of JavaScript. You can just build an entire web application using CSS and some data attributes. And of course, you can attach your own JavaScript if you want. Um, yeah, like Angular or React, except this is a lot simpler than that. So it's not as powerful as Angular or React, but at the same time, it's like more. Yeah, thanks, thanks, dude. Um, yeah, I think it's going well so far. I already built something using it. So if you go to requestcreative.com, you can see it live. Um, uh, so it was by accident. Pretty much. So how do I make my own framework? So I started out with just like a very simple uh, library, and it just expanded from there, kind of by accident. And I, and then before I knew it, I had like a few libraries working together, and it was too late. It was all over at that point. I had to just continue going down the rabbit hole. So yeah, it was not a on purpose process. But the nice thing about it is that this framework works exactly how I think, which is cool, right? Because like, I mean, I don't know about you, but like when I use like Vue.js at work, and some things about it, I'm just like what? Like why the heck did that do that? Especially like passing data between child and parent components that confused me for a while. But this framework just like works how I've always worked, and thought about web development. So it makes it a lot easier to think through things and think about. But I can show you like an example right here. So this is like a live application, and you can like click on this to edit it, and you can like replace the image here. I don't have like an example image to upload right now. But that works, and then you can actually let me get an example image. Like I'll actually show you this. We'll just get a quick one from Unsplash, whatever the first one is. Download. Okay, so we'll upload this image, and this is all built using Remake.js. So it's all based on like data attributes, and you can like drag the. Well, you should be able to drag the image. I think it's broken. That's embarrassing. Well, you can kind of drag it, and then you can zoom in and zoom out, and then you can save it. I think if that like never broke before, but yeah. Okay. Well, but anyways, so you can kind of drag it around, and then you can zoom out and zoom in, and then you can save it, and then it'll be there. And then if you refresh the page, it's gonna be there, and it's all based on data attributes. So if we go in here, we can see like the bundle cover image. Um, if we go up a level, we can see like all the data attributes. So like we're using data switch for like turning on the inline edit area. We're using like data O-type object right here to like say that it can be compiled down into like a series of keys and values. And then we're setting up like the key of like public ID to reference the like image, the upload status to success, and all of these data attributes are affecting the page in terms of like the style that's applied, um, and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's a really simple way of building a web app, and of course like the source code I'm showing you in the yeah, this source code in here is like definitely confusing, like if you're just looking at the data attributes this way. But let me show you like another example that I have that's a lot easier to understand, because like when you're building the code, it's not going to be minified. It's going to be, you're going to be able to see, um, sorry, you're going to be able to see like all the data attributes easily. So like this is more of like how it's going to look like during development. Like you'll be able to put like the class and the data attributes on different lines. So you'll be able to kind of like parse it better. And this is an example of like pretty much a full-fledged application. It's not like working and built out yet, but this application, I can show you like a preview of what it does. So this is like the design for it. I know it's kind of a bad design. I'm like a UI designer, and this is the first draft of the design, and it's going to be a lot, like 1,000% better in the final version. But the idea is that you can have like a progress update that you can add by clicking this button, and then each progress update can have like a series of to-dos that you can mark as done or not, and then you can add like a new task to each one. And so like this whole application, other than like the CSS, is pretty much all defined by just these data attributes. So like you have this like data type list, and then you have like these sub items inside of it that each have text associated with them, and that keeps track of like this text right here of like the progress update, and allows you to serialize that and save it to the database. This function up here, data osave, it should actually have the deep flag on it. That'll save the entire page every time it's changed. This like data iNew attribute allows you to add a new progress update, and then you get the same thing down here for the progress update task. You're just getting into learning React. React is really cool. I think if you want a job in this industry, it's like, yeah, it's definitely the thing to learn. The MERN stack. So that's Mongo, Express, React, and Nginx. Is it Nginx or something else? I forget. Yeah, that's a really good place to start, I think. Oh, Node. Okay. Yeah. Right. That makes sense. Um, yeah, I think that's a really good place to start. That's kind of like where was, I was like starting to learn that like 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm still not an expert in it by any means, but I really like Mongo. Node is a lot of fun. It's nice to have JavaScript on the front end and the back end. And then React. React is like so purely JavaScript. It's really nice to work with because you know, a lot of the skills you'll be building up with React, you'll be able to use no matter what framework you switch to in the future. You know, like once React dies, any particular learning approach that helped you a lot or that you could recommend. So there's no tutorial out there that's going to help you as much as building something. So I would strongly recommend picking a project, even if it's a super simple one, and just like trying to get it to completion. So even if it's just like building a to-do list or like a blog, I mean, those can get complicated, you know, like if you want to generate RSS for your blog, you know, like that's a whole new technology you're going to have to learn about. But if you just want to build like a simple blog or like a simple to-do list, I think that's a really good place to start. Or like something you imagine, you know, like any project you could imagine. Like if you want to work with some Google API or Twitter API and like get like flight times or get, you know, tweets from a certain location, anything where you're building something real, because you're gonna learn a lot more from actually doing it and struggling with the bugs and struggling with the errors and coming across these like so you have a website idea that you want to accomplish. What is that? What are you working on? Is it like a portfolio website, or is it like a web app kind of thing? Um, Noob Life, did I lose you? So I'm going to continue documenting this while I wait for the Noob Life to respond. But yeah, I think just to like fully respond to your question earlier, I think that React is a really good framework to learn. A website that promoted smaller YouTubers, and I want a grid display of the user's YouTube channel in a format I specify. Like with the Google API or something. Smaller YouTubers, grid of the user's YouTube channel. Yeah, that could be good. Does YouTube have an API? I haven't like worked with the YouTube API. It's a little weird relying on Google APIs because they kind of like change them or shutter them sometimes. But as far as the project definition, that sounds like a good idea. Do you know like CSS and HTML yet, or are you learning that too? I mean, I guess if you're learning React, you probably already know HTML and CSS and a little JavaScript. Okay, cool. So it's part of the Google API. So as far as the grid layout, you could do that with like CSS grid, or you could do that with Flexbox. I think CSS grid is like a pretty good thing to learn. One instructor I would recommend that you check out is Wes Boss. He's like really good. I've bought a lot of his courses, and he's like a really good teacher, really strong teacher. He's got this like JavaScript tutorial. He's got like a React one coming up, and I think he has yeah, he has like a grid one too, and I think this one's. Hey, Sullivan, how's it going? Thanks for joining a second day in a row. Nice to see you again. So yeah, we're talking a little bit about React and CSS Grid and JavaScript. I'm giving the Noob Life a little advice about how to start his project. He's experienced in CSS and HTML, and he's learning React. But yeah, this tutorial by Wes Boss is really good. So the courses are a little expensive, but they're worth it. You know, like if you have the money, and then he has some some free ones too. So he has CSS Grid is free. So if you want to learn about that, this is definitely a good place to start. And it'll teach you, you know, like how to create a grid, and then like how to size them, and then like what happens if your items go beyond like a certain area, and then you can like reorder items in the grid. So like CSS Grid, I don't really know that well, but it's going to be like huge. You know, like it's going to be the next big thing in terms of like web design and like creating new types of sites that just couldn't be created before, like new types of layouts. And then the other one to learn is Flexbox. If you don't know Flexbox, this is definitely a good place to start on CSS tricks. They have a really good overview of how to space items and everything. But if you're creating a grid layout, you can do it with a Flexbox. And actually, CSS Tricks is like the top website I would recommend if you're playing around with like layouts and stuff. Like you can search for like grid here, and it'll give you like so many good articles. It's like such a good resource. CSS Tricks is so good. So yeah, those are a couple places to start. I'm gonna switch back to, yeah, it's so it's so good. Um, yeah, I wish there was, I don't know. I know they run like CodePen. I've thought about like subscribing to that. I was like about to say like I wish there was a way I could support them, but of course I could just subscribe to CodePen. Um, it's just it's so expensive for what it is. It's like $10 a month, so I'm paying $120 a year for like a code playground. I don't know. It's probably worth it. I should probably sign up for it. Um, okay, so I'm here documenting Remake Jess. My goal today is primarily just to get like some more documentation out for other people, but also for me because sometimes I forget some of the attributes that I've created and like what they do. So it would be good to just like have a standard place I could go um, to see what it all does. So I'm going to switch this to source code mode. And I'm going to copy it all and I'm going to paste it into a gist. I wish there was a way I could like live edit this somewhere. And I want it where the user registers and puts in their YouTube link. It auto-generates a layout I pre-formatted of the user channel. If you get what I'm saying. I don't quite get what you're saying. Are you saying like you would have pre-designed the layout and then like based on who they are, like it would be branded to them, and then when they register, it like the layout you created for their channel would be automatically added to their for their site? Or are you saying that like everyone would have the same layout and that would be something that you created ahead of time, and then no matter who signs up, their videos are going to go into that layout? Is that what you're saying? Oh no, you said in essence, yeah, right after I said the second one, so I'm not sure if you're, if you're saying the first one or the second one. So the first one is that you have different layouts for everyone, and the second one is that you just have one layout, but it uses their videos. Um, so yeah, I wish that I had like a way to live update this markdown file, but I think for now I'm just going to paste this in here. And then I'll update it as we go along. So this is kind of like a quick reference for Remake.js. So everyone would have the same layout and the channel gets put on the home page where people could see them. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. You know, I don't know if you are. I know you want to learn the MERN stack, which is definitely a really cool idea. But if you want to focus on learning React, it might be nice to have the backend taken care of for you. And I can highly, highly recommend Firebase for that. If you're just getting started, Firebase is the bomb because like they just give you user authentication out of the box. They give you a database out of the box. You can like hook it into React super easily, and then just like save all the data super easily. So, and it's all on the front end. So like you're doing everything on the front end. It's a powerful tool. And there's what is the Fire Start? Is it Fire Start on YouTube? No, it's Fire. Oh man, am I gonna have to go to my YouTube and reveal all of my Dota recommendations? So yeah, I watch a lot of Dota, which is a video game. But there's a channel called Fireship. This is it. So if you want to learn about Firebase or anything really, he has like a lot of really cool tutorials. I just found out about this channel and it's very, very high quality. But he has like a lot of Firebase stuff. So would I have to learn React first and then learn Firebase? Or so the problem with any project is you're going to have to create the environment, so like you need a database, you need user authentication, right? So if you're talking about doing that on the MERN stack, if you already have like a starter project like that, like I'm sure you can just search like MERN starter. Yeah, and well, this one's deprecated, but you could go to this one, right? And it looks like it was updated last year, so I don't know, maybe you could use that. But you're still going to need to find something and like figure it out and configure it and find a host for it. And it's a big hassle to do. It's just like a lot of learning. So no matter what you're doing, no matter what backend stack you're using, you're gonna have to set it up and learn about it and learn how it works. So the nice thing about Firebase is that there's very little learning that happens before you're set up and ready to go. Like they're going to give you like a little user authentication script that you just add to your page, and then you like call like two functions, and then you have like user authentication set up with Firebase. It's much less to learn than like a full stack. So that's why I would recommend it, because it removes a lot of the overhead. And if you're thinking about learning React, it's like, well, you want to focus on React. Okay, I'll see you, Sullivan. Thanks for stopping in. I ate lunch right before this, so I'm all set. But hope to see you on later. Thanks for stopping in. Okay, so this is the quick ref. I'm going to keep working on this until it's a little bit more detailed. Okay. Yeah. Firebase is nice. It's just nice to just start with everything kind of taken care of for you out of the box. It does require some learning though. So like, don't get me wrong, there are going to be some things you run into that are a little weird. And about the auto-generating the format, how do I go about that? No, it's okay. It's not that distracting. Well, it is a little distracting, but I don't mind. So for auto-generating the format, you're saying like you have a so let me get this. I need to get the idea right first. I'm sorry for anyone else who's watching who's like, man, I'm really excited about this Remake Jess framework. Get back to that. If there is anyone like that, let me know. And yeah, but for now, so are you talking about like, this is a design that you've made where like, each YouTube video goes into its own area, and you're gonna like load their video here, 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 and then you're gonna like put their name at the top, and it's gonna be like, I don't know, this is my handle, so we'll just use that for now. So you're talking like this? Okay, so yeah, so this is just a template, so you're gonna need a template, but that's with React. So you're gonna create a React view, right, with HTML and CSS, and then you're going to load the data into your React view, your React template, and it's going to render something like this. No, wait. Okay. Let's see. While you're responding, I'm going to work on this a little bit. So data switches. Define switch. All of those boxes are different channels, are on the home page. Oh, okay, so like this is your home page, and then this is like Panphora, and then this is like, I don't know, random dude, and then this is I could think of a more creative name, right? Like Angel Killer. Is that too much? I feel like maybe that's a little too much. We'll even it out with like demon, uh, demon what? What's a good thing? Demon butterfly. That's a good thing. Okay, so yeah, but it's the same thing. So you're gonna have, so like in your database, you're gonna have like a list, right? And then you're gonna have like user one, and you're gonna have their name. It's gonna be like Panphora, and then you're gonna have demon butterfly, and you're gonna, I mean, if you have this list, you're just gonna be able to render this. Am I not understanding? And then the format in each box is like the channel profile, picture, name, subcount, channel art. Yeah, so you're gonna need to like get, so like from the Google API, you're gonna need to get like a list of everyone's information. So like something like this, right? Where you have their name, and then you have, I don't know, what else did you say? Their channel art, their profile picture. So like let's put in like profile picture URL, and you're gonna have like a link to that URL here. So you're gonna have all this data from the YouTube API, the Google API, and then you'll be able to loop through it for each of these and then display it, right? Because in React, you're gonna have your like React view. I mean, React is basically just HTML, so like you're basically just gonna be like doing. I mean, it's not. It's. Don't get me wrong. It's not just basically HTML, but they have the. What do you call it? JSX, right? So JSX that just compiles down to HTML. So you're gonna say like, like if this is your data, right? So if you have data equal to this array, then you're gonna say. So you're gonna have like a parent node, and then you're gonna say like data map, right? Because they use map all the time. And then you're gonna say like person, and you're gonna return this inner div 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're gonna, for each person, you're gonna have some div, right? So you're gonna say div. So image, I guess, right? So we'll have image source is going to equal person dot profile picture URL, and then you close this. So it's going to be something like this. This is going to be your render function in React. So it's not going to be like the full component, but I mean that's basically what you're going to do. Does that make sense? Is that what you're asking? I feel like maybe I'm not fully getting what you're asking. Switches. Okay. So say a switch is it can be attached to an element. It can be on or off. Yeah. Did I not get it? The noob life? Or are you playing around with it? Playing around with the code. So it defines one or more switches, each of which can be triggered on or off. First argument. Okay, so you guys, so you're new to React, so you wouldn't really know. So I don't know, whatever. We'll make this we'll make this a React tutorial. So great place. So React is so you're asking, should I use something called React View? So React is a let's see how they describe it. Library for building user interfaces. So it's not a full framework. Like a lot of people in the JavaScript community, they're like, oh, React is a Vue library. It's not a full framework. So when I was talking about the Vue stuff, I was just referencing that React is for creating. Let's go here. So React is for creating user interfaces. But it's not going to give you like all the extra stuff that Angular gives you. So this is an example of like a React application. And you can get here just by going to React, docs, try React. And we can see that like here, where this is like the main component that's being rendered from React, and we're just returning some JSX. So this is the JSX. So I'll show you. React is for creating SPA or MPA, not only user interface. What's MPA? I'm curious. What's it? So we got a comment from Randy Marsh who says React is for creating SPA or MPA, not only user interfaces. Oh, is it a mobile page app? I don't know what an MPA is. Oh, multi-page. Okay, so a single page or multi-page application. Yeah, no, totally. But it's mostly going to help you with the Vue logic. It's not going to help you, for example, with routing, right? It doesn't have routing built in. It's not going to help you with what are the other things that Angular comes with out of the box that React doesn't? It's like everything, like everything. Let's see. Let's see this, because I've heard this a lot, that it's like it's a Vue library. It's not like a full library. So we're gonna go into fundamentals, bootstrapping. So like forms, right? So like they have form validation in here. React doesn't have form validation. You need like a plugin for it. Components and templates. I mean, a lot of this is component stuff, right? So like that's what React is good at. React is really good at templating. It's really good at, state, like handling state. But like, look, Angular has an HTTP client. So like you can use this to do an AJAX call. React doesn't have an HTTP client. And routing and navigation, this is a huge one. React doesn't have any routing built in. Randy Marsh, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying like you can't use React for anything. You can use React for building, iPhone apps, right? That's awesome. But it's not going to give you a lot out of the box because it's just a Vue library. It's just for handling kind of the templating and the state around the templating, as far as I understand it. So getting back to this, let's look at if we have some data. So we're going to give you the data, and we're going to give you some users in here. And the first user is going to have a name of Panphora. And then the second one, or not the second one. And then my URL is going to be, let's get like where can we get a URL that we can use in an app? Like a filler image API. There we go. So maybe this one. Okay. Man, I just want the thing. Okay. There, okay. So, yeah, this is my really awful. Can I get another one? I want like a fun one. Okay, here we go. This is better. So we'll say their like image is this. What is data saying? Data is declared, but its value is never read. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So then here we're going to say, okay, this is our app, and we're going to have like a bunch of divs in here, and these are each going to like be a profile. So we're going to say like class profile box, we'll say. And then in here, we're going to do like image. So we'll create an image element and we'll do source. And we're going to do data dot, oh geez. Data? Why is it auto-completing? That's so annoying. Data, and then the first one, and then image. Oh, okay, I think we have to wrap this in parentheses, is that true? Quoted. See, so now you've got me messing with things that I don't really know about. Because I mean, I've used React for creating a single application, but I'm not like an expert in this. Let's see, maybe if I just quote this, how do I add an attribute? React cheat sheet. Let's look at this. React. So attribute name equals John. Oh, okay. It's the curly braces. See, so this shows how much I know about React. Okay. So we'll do what the heck? What's going on? Expected corresponding JSX. Oh, okay, for image. I forgot. So in JSX, you need to close like everything. And then what is this saying? Image elements must have an alt prop. Okay, fine. So we'll just add that. And we can say Murray. Okay, so now we're just displaying one, but now let's try like more than one. So we're going to put this in, and we're going to say like Fred, and this one's going to be like 300 by 300. I wonder if they'll be different, even if we use the same endpoint. Okay, now we're going to loop over them. So now we want this profile box for each of them. So we're going to do data.map, and then we'll say person, and we'll do this. And I think, I think this might work, but I think what we need is, I think it's parentheses. I think this is how React does it. Wait, what's happening with this? Oh, it's because I didn't wrap it in that data map. If anyone wants to correct me here, who has experience with React, is Randy still there? Oh man, Randy left. That's too bad. Okay, let's look at the cheat sheet again. Are you still with me? Because I don't want to do this if you're not still with me. Are you still with me, noob? Noob for life? Are you there? Are you having a good time? Is this like beginner level for you? Like is this like beyond where you are, or is this like way below where you are? I want to see like map. Okay, here's an example. So we use the curly braces, items map. Okay, let's just copy this. We're gonna just copy this, take it, and put it in here. Okay. So we'll do data. Well, I'll go over this afterwards. It's to do item is not defined. That makes sense because we oh. Whoa, what's happening? Oh, okay. So we need to end the div here. Yeah, no, don't worry about it, Noob for Life. We're going to explain this fully. So, unexpected token. Oh, is it because of the key? I think it's because of the key. Maybe. Okay, so we got person here, and we're gonna say div, or let's just do the image, right? We had the image before. I don't know why I deleted the old one. I think I had it mostly right. And we had the alt tag and everything. So we're gonna add the alt tag back in, and then we're gonna do source, and then we're gonna do person.image. Okay, it would be really nice if this would start working now. Person.image. So what is it saying? Should be either an expression or a quoted JSX text. Okay, right. So we're back in JSX here. So we need to use the curly braces around this. Voila! Boom! This is awesome, right? This is cool. So now let's change this up so that we get a different image for each person. Okay, so now, so this is working, kind of. We're looping over the data, and for each item in the data, we're displaying the image. Okay. So let's go through this step by step. So first of all, we have data. Data is an array. Let me know if any part of this, if any part of what I'm saying is confusing. Like if you don't know what an array is, I will explain what an array is, but you have to tell me. Okay, so this is an array. That means it's a list. We have objects inside of it. Each object has a key and a value. The the key of name here is TypeAura, the key of name here is Fred, and then the images are slightly different. One is 300 by 300 and 200 by 200. We're just using like this automatic kind of image generator for our images. Okay, now we get into the interesting part. So the interesting part is our app. We have the container, which we're giving a class name of app, and then we're doing this slightly complicated thing. So data.map. Map is probably where you're getting confused. So let me show you what map does. It's very, very simple. We're going to go into the dev tools of our browser so that we have a clean slate. So, so we're going to create a list. We'll call it ARR, and we'll set it equal to an array, and we'll set it equal to the numbers 1, 2, and 3. So if we type in our ARR, we're going to get an array of 3 items, 1, 2, 3. Now what map does is it allows us to transform each item one at a time. So I don't know if you know about arrow functions, but this is the argument to the arrow function, and then this is the area where we can manipulate the number. So, and it's going to automatically return. It has an implicit return statement when we don't use the curly braces. So we're not using the curly braces, so it implicitly returns. And we're going to say num plus 1. So this is going to take each of the nums in the array, and it's going to add 1 to them and return it. And whatever you return in the callback function that you pass to map is going to be the new value for that item in the array. So we can do it. We can do it a different way. If you are interested, like we could. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a really powerful function. So let's do like another one. So we'll redefine array, and we'll make another list, and we'll say like A, B, C. And we don't happen to like A, B, and C that much. We want all of the things in the array to be replaced with with dog, because we like dogs a lot. So we're going to say array map, and then we're going to say item in the array, and then we're going to make an arrow function. And what are we going to return from this? Well, we could use the item somehow, right? We could do something to the item, but instead we're actually just going to return dog. Oops, not dig, dog. And that's just, so whatever we return, remember, whatever we return from each call of this function for each item, it's going to replace that with the value we gave it in the array. So by returning dog from each iteration of this function, we get dog 3 times, because it's just going to replace A, dog, it's going to replace B with dog, it's going to replace C with dog. Does that make sense? I can go through some more examples. We can say like array equals 100, 200, 300. And then we'll do array map addadpog. I don't know what that means. And we'll say item, and we're going to say like item divided by 2. So now we're returning item divided by 2, and so we get 50, 100, and 150. So it's a really powerful way if you're working with arrays a lot, right? So if you have arrays all over your application, and sometimes you need to transform those arrays. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, if you're working with arrays a lot and you need to transform those arrays, you're going to be using map a lot. Like if you have a problem, right? And this is any problem in coding. If you have a problem in coding and that problem involves having a list of items and wanting to transform it to another list of items that has the same number of items, right? You're not changing the length of the list. You're just transforming each item in this list into another list with transformed items. You always want to use map. Map is like a godsend then, because it just lets you quickly loop over and return a new array. Okay, so let's go back to our example. So here what we're doing is we're looping over our array of people. So we have name and image for each person, and we're looping over that, right, with map, and we're getting each person, and for each person we're going to return some JSX. So JSX is basically just HTML, but it has some special things with it. Like we saw earlier, React gave us a warning when we didn't have an alt tag and when we didn't close the image. Normally in HTML you don't have to close the image and you don't have to add an alt tag. But there's some other nice things about it, which is like you can have this curly brace to include a variable directly in your HTML. So this is the HTML part of what we're returning. And it allows JSX, which is this, right? This is all JSX. It's all like HTML mixed with JavaScript. It's a really weird syntax, but if you learn React, you have to know JSX. And it basically, yeah, it's basically just what I said. It allows you to add some JavaScript logic to your HTML and like return HTML directly from your JavaScript. So for example, right here, we start this JavaScript expression with a curly brace. Then we say data map, and then we're going to get the person, right? So we'll get each person in here. And for each person, we're going to return this element of an image. And the source is going to be equal to the person.image. And again, since right here we went back into the HTML version of JSX, in order to include some JavaScript logic, we have to start with the curly brace again. Does that make sense? Kind of? It might be clearer if I put this on a separate line. So I'm going to put that on a separate line and put that on that line. And then we're going to we'll do this and that and return. So remember how I said it has an implicit return? Yeah. Okay, good. So you think you got it so far. So I would insert the Google API properties into the objects. So yeah, so let me show you like high level what it's going to look like. So this is what you're going to get from Google. You're going to get something like this. It's going to be an array, and it's going to have like people. You can call it like people or something, or users, right? And each item in the array is going to be an object, and each object is going to have some properties. And Google's going to give you that automatically. Now, you're going to need to find a way to have your own users, because if you want, so this is going to be like Google users. We'll use camel case. So Google users are what they give you, but you're not going to be able to modify this until you add it to your own application. So you're going to have your own users, and that's going to look like this. And these are users that logged into your application, right? So what you're going to do for each of these users, you're going to say, hey, I need you to log in with Google, okay? And when they log in with Google, you're going to be able to pass in their like YouTube ID or something like that, right? So they're going to give you some like YouTube ID. So you're going to have that for each user. And you're going to pass that into Google, and Google's going to give you back all of their user data. So this is like an example of all the user data you're going to get. And then you're going to add this user data to your user. So you're going to insert this in here when they connect their account to Google. So like they're going to sign into your website. They're just going to have the data you give them, which is nothing, right? I mean, not nothing, but like their name on your service, right? They're just going to start with that. And then you're going to need to ask them, hey, what is your YouTube ID? Or like, can you log in using Google or using YouTube? Like, give me permission to access your YouTube data. And then they're going to give you that those credentials or like that login. You're probably going to use like a third-party login where you know when you use an app and it asks for permission to like use your Google account. That's what you're going to do. So you're probably going to use so if you use Firebase, you're going to want to use like third-party login for Firebase, and that'll allow you to get data from that provider. Yeah, so control access with custom claims. Okay, no, that's not exactly what you want. So yeah, I mean, it's going to give you some, like when they authenticate with Google to your Firebase application, it's going to, you're going to have some option to say, I want my app to have these permissions, and then you'll get those permissions, and then you can use that to grab their profile image or something like that. And if you don't use Firebase, you'll use something called Passport.js. So Passport.js is like an Express thing. So it's Node and Express, and it allows you to authenticate with like Google. So you can see right on their homepage they have that example. And if you log in with Google, then you'll be able to get some information from them. So you can see like the configuration, and probably somewhere in the settings to the Google strategy, you're going to pass in something about like what permissions you want to be able to have over their data. And you're probably going to be like, I want their YouTube, profile information, something like that. And then Google, when they redirect to your callback URL, they'll probably pass you that data. I'm not sure exactly how it works because honestly, I haven't really worked with third-party like login and permissioning a lot, but I imagine that's probably how it works. So yeah, so if you're using Node and Express, you're probably going to want to use Passport. If you use Firebase, I think they have their own way to do it. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but they'll pass you back that data, and then you'll have that data, right? You'll have their YouTube, you know, name, right, and their YouTube data, and then you'll be able to loop through each of these users, right, with map, and you'll be able to display the profile information you want, right? So you can just add all of the profile information here, right? So like some of it might be an image, some of it might be a name, some of it might be something else, but that's basically how you'll do it. Yeah, does that make sense? I got to get back to working on a remake, but that was actually kind of fun. Let me know if that kind of makes sense, or if you want any like other guidance around that. Yeah, no problem. No problem. The noob life. If you want, I can. I'll post this in the chat. Let's see. So I think this means you can edit it. I'm pretty sure. So you can play around with it from there. Let me test in an incognito window if this works. Yeah, so now you can, I think you can fork this or something, or maybe you can just start editing it. Yeah, I think you can just start editing it. So that should get you off to a decent start. But as far as I'm concerned, the Google permission stuff is going to be the hardest part of that project. And I would almost recommend for you to have people manually do it at first. So like, take this with a grain of salt. Like you do as much learning as you want to do. You know, like if you want to dive into this full project head first, like by all means do it. But I think if you're just starting out learning React and your main goal is to learn React, I would strongly recommend like creating a form on your page and just asking the user like, what is your YouTube username, right? And just like have them enter that in, and then like say like, what is your YouTube like profile picture, and like have them upload it, and then like which videos do you want featured, like links to your videos. And you won't even have to say like YouTube profile picture, you could just say profile picture, links to your videos, and then you could have like a list of links, right? And the only reason I say this is because when you're working with a third-party API and you're like dealing with permissioning issues around that, and you're trying to get the right data and then add it to your database, that's like what you're learning there isn't React. What you're learning is how to interact with a third-party API. And you're learning a lot about their technology and the way they work and the way they organize their data, but you're not learning how to organize data yourself. And I think if you built an application that like just was a form that asked for you know, some videos and a profile picture, the thing you could do with this is you could send out an email, right? And you could say, hey, can I feature your YouTube profile on my website? And they could say, hey, yeah, you could do that. And then what you do is you go over to this form that you made and you fill in all these details. so you could have this be like an admin form, right? Where that only you can access. And so then you put in their YouTube username, you put in their profile picture, you put in the links to all their videos, and you do that manually. And then, you click the save button, and then all of a sudden, they're on your website, right? Because now you have the data. You manually entered that data in, but now it's in your system, and you didn't need to ask Google for permission to like authenticate them. You didn't need to like make sure you got the right data. You didn't need to make sure there were no errors with the authentication. All you needed to make sure is that this data that's being entered into your form is being displayed on the page, and you're handling all the busy work for the user. So like when you're signing up for a service as a user and someone's asking for permission to access your Google data, you get suspicious. And if it looks like a weird website, you might be like, maybe not, right? So you're removing all of that overhead of thinking about that from the user. If you just send them an email, you say, hey, can I feature your YouTube profile on my website? And then you fill out this form behind the scenes, and then you can just add their profile to your homepage, and you've done it all manually. But if you look at so you said that this makes sense. I'm really, really happy to hear that. So there's this don't scale. So there's this excellent article by Paul Graham. He's the founder of Y Combinator. They've funded people like Airbnb and Dropbox, and they funded a lot of really big companies. But he has some articles that are really interesting, and he has this article called "Do Things That Don't Scale," and it's all about do everything manually. Like if you're making like if you're making this super complicated like weather satellite that's gonna detect hurricanes, get the best meteorologists and like have them do it manually behind the scenes while you're building out the algorithms to actually make it work. And so like up front, people are like browsing your website and like looking at the storm research, and it looks like it's all auto-generated. But in the meantime, you've built out some of those algorithms, but you haven't built out some of them too. You still have to use the human component for a lot of them. And so a lot of startups, like, that's what they'll do. And I'm not saying, be dishonest, but what I am saying is like, if you're providing a value, and you don't have to say how you're providing that value, like if you're providing a value, that's great. Like if you're providing, a writing service or an illustration service or any kind of startup service, and you have to do some of that manually when you're first getting set up, that's fine. That's perfect. That's where you should be. And then you can automate it as time goes on, right? Because if you have this, awesome YouTubers page, please don't name it. Please don't name it that. But like, say you have this awesome YouTubers.com website, and you have like all these great people, and your traffic is just like going up and up and up, right? It's just like a hockey stick, right? Then at that point, it's going to make sense for you to scale it out, and then you're going to replace this form. You're going to replace this form with the actual like login with Google link, right? So you're going to get rid of this. I don't know how to do that. So you're going to get rid of that, and you're going to say login with Google, and then at that point, people are going to trust you because you've got a thousand YouTubers already signed up and already featured, right? Then you're going to have the trust, and then you can replace it with login with Google, and then people are going to be like, oh yeah, like he's already got 1,000 people on here, it must be a legit site. But if you've got like one YouTuber, and you're asking people to log in with Google, then that's not going to work as well. Yeah, no problem. This is so the Noob Life. You said you appreciate all the effort you put in to explain it to me. So this is something I'm still learning. Honestly, I I think I showed you the website I built earlier at requestcreative.com. Like I put a lot of effort into building that, and I didn't do very much marketing or outreach, or like seeing like talking with people and getting that initial traction. And I wish I would. So this is definitely a lesson that I'm still learning myself. So I wish you luck. I hope that you can learn that lesson faster than I did. Um, okay, so I'm gonna get back to documenting the framework a little bit. So the first argument is, we'll say auto or no auto, and controls whether the switch is automatically turned off when clicking elsewhere on the page. Okay, so one last question from the noob life. Hopefully it doesn't take the next hour. But yeah, no, go shoot, shoot, shoot. I got it. Zazo Karam. Hey Zazo Karam, how's it going? Do you have any technical questions or? Oh, okay, cool. Another question. Cool. Yeah, shoot. Second argument. So I think we'll put this under like notes. Like that is a custom name. Okay, so let's look. What a quick question, technical. Hey, ISO Pali, how's it going? What are you working on? What kinds of things are you working on? And what are you learning about? And Zazo Karam, feel free. And the noob life. I didn't mean to guilt trip you. I really want to hear hear your last question. Let me know. Do you know what it takes to capture an image from a webcam on a client and then process it to be cartooned? Whew. Okay, okay. That's an interesting question. Do you know what it takes to capture an image from a webcam on a web client and then process it to be cartooned? So Noob Life, I'm not going to look at your question until I answer Zazo's question. Okay, so like some clarifying questions, Zazo Karam. Are you looking to live translate this image from like a video image to a cartoon image so that like if you were watching me right now, it would look like I was a cartoon? Like, is that what you're looking to build? Or are you looking for like user clicks a button, takes a photo, so it's a live translated video from a video to a cartoon video? If you just say yes, then I will see. I will go with that. Okay. So for that, you're going to need to capture video. If you don't know how to do that, I think the best way to do it is WebRTC. So, so it allows you to have real-time access to audio streams and video streams. Can I please demonstrate it with a live demo? No, I'm sorry. I can tell you roughly like how you could go about doing it, but this is not something I have expertise in. So I can just kind of give you like some ideas, but I'm sorry. I wish I could like live code it real quick, but that's not something I'm capable of. How do I know all this stuff? I think I just read a lot, and I also have a so there's a website called Hacker News. I would highly recommend it to technical people. They have just like technical news every day, and it's all kinds of interesting stuff. Like, let's see, rethinking the file system as a global mutable state, the root of all evil. So this isn't like something I would probably read, but I bet if you read it, you would be a better developer. So this is one example of something I look at almost every day. The other thing to keep up with products is Product Hunt. They have like new startups that are launching like every day, and you can find some really cool ones. And then the last one, which is probably the most useful, is I make a custom Gmail account, like where I only have newsletters. So like I will go to like the top 10 newsletters for developers, and I will sign up for all of these using my like special like throwaway Gmail. So it'll be like, I don't know, newsletters, blah, blah, blah at gmail.com. And then I will check that email whenever I have some free time, and I'll read up on like the latest tech news. So that's how I keep up to date. So getting back to your question, Zazo, you want to use probably WebRTC. It makes it really easy to get the live streamed images from a video stream. And then once you process the video down to images, you're going to need something to cartoonify them. So what I would do, my first step would be to go to github.com, and I would search for like cartoonify, just like randomly hoping that I would come up with something. And here we go. So we've got a Python script to turn a photograph into a cartoon, and it doesn't give any examples, but we have this online example. So it tries to draw your photo. So this is an example. I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but it would turn this into this. It would turn this into this. It's kind of fun, right? Maybe it's not exactly what you're looking for, but basically if you, the way it would work, the way the app would work is you would have the video streaming through WebRTC. Then you would convert that into a stream of images, and then you would process each image with like a Cartoonify library, and then you would recompile the images into a video. Now, if you could do this in real time, I'm not sure. Like, you'd need a really fast processor to be able to process each image in like under a few milliseconds. But I guess what you could do is have like a delay on the stream. So like it wouldn't be totally live. So you could delay the video and the audio, depending on how long it's actually taking you to process each image. But yeah, you'd have to have a pretty fast processor. And just so you know, this is not a easy problem to solve. Like if you're looking to do this, you just need to capture an image and then cartoonize it. Yeah, so I mean, I would just look at libraries that can turn things into cartoons. So this one is an example, right, where you have this Python app. You could just search GitHub for like cartoon, and then I'm sure you would find some other ones. And you can also just, I don't know, I don't see any good ones there. But you could say convert image to cartoon. You would just search Google for that, and you would, and maybe search like Node if you're working with Node.js. So cartoon avatar. This looks maybe good. Oh no, that just generates an avatar. I don't know. You'd have to do the research for finding the package that could actually convert the image. But yeah, I would search something like this. If you're using like Python, you could search that. As far as or maybe so convert image to like drawing would be a better search, because then maybe like they have different things. And you can also always add like API to the end of your Google searches, and then you could find. Yeah, I think the first one we found, the Python one, is the best one. No, I've never tried it. I've never done anything like this before. So yeah, that's why you're more on your own than yeah. I mean, I would show you more if I knew more, but This looks interesting. Okay. So this, yeah, maybe you could use, yeah, look at this. So this is a photo API, and it looks like they have some pricing here. But up to 100 requests a day is free, so you could play around with this. And it looks like they have the ability to create caricatures with like face morphing and animating between different types of animated faces. So you could look at fo.to, that API, but I'm sure there's a lot of other APIs that if you just search for like image API like transform, you'll find a lot of them. And like Cloudinary, I've used that before. Remakejs, I've used that. I'm sure some of these have the ability to cartoonify or sketchify an image, and then you could just use those to convert the image one at a time, like you were saying. Okay, next question. So let's go back up. So when I input the info into the form for the user, I would basically make an object or whatever and use the map function and JSX to display the form info in how I want it to look. Yeah, no problem, Zezo. I hope, is that how you say your name? I hope that you find luck with that. That sounds like a really fun project. One thing you might want to look at. So I already mentioned this guy, Wes Boss, but he does some really cool JavaScript tutorials, and he did this like fun video the other day, fun tutorial. So I never watched this video, but I follow him on Twitter, so I kind of saw him doing this. So you see how, like when he holds things up to the screen, the colors are changing around it. So you can like create an app like that, following like his tutorial. I think he has a tutorial somewhere, or like the code somewhere. And so this would like give you an idea of what it's like to like live process a video, if you're interested in that. Okay, so sorry, getting back to the other question. So when I input the info into the form, so when you input the info into the form, what you're going to want to do, I'm going to just pretend you're using Firebase, because that's what I suggested, and I'm just going to assume that you value my opinion so much that you're going to go with it. But no, honestly, do whatever feels right to you. Don't just go with this if you don't like it. But let me just show you kind of like what this code would look like. So you would install Firebase, okay, with npm or with a script, right? You could do either one. Okay, cool, awesome. You said you'll use it for sure. Then you you initialize it. So when you sign up for Firebase, they're going to give you an API key. They have a free version too, so like don't worry about paying for it. Especially if you have under like 1,000 users, you're going to be fine. So you put in your API key, you put in your domain name, and then you put in your Firestore project ID, and then boom, you're going to have a database right like this. So you put database equals firebase.firestore. That's like the main database. They have another database called the real-time database. I wouldn't recommend using that because that's kind of old and it has a lot of weird bugs. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but Firestore is their new one and it's better. Okay. So now you'll have a reference to the DB, right? So you say var db equal this. So now let's see how to add it. So now you'll do db.collection, and you'll name the collection. So a collection is just a list. It's just a giant list. And Google loves, so Firebase is owned by Google, by the way. Google loves lists because they make it really easy to scale things. Like pretty much the whole Google search engine is based on like a giant list pretty much. And then they just like go through it to find the right document based on your search. But collection is just a list. So you're going to say collection users, and then you're going to say add, and then you pass in an object. So this is an example of like adding the data from the form. So when the user submits the form, you're going to get their name, you're going to get their YouTube URL, you're going to get their profile image URL, and then you're going to add it to your collection, right? And then, so you're going to just do this, right? And this is like a callback to like show you, when it's been successful or when it's not been successful. If you're just building a demo application, I wouldn't worry about this too much. Just assume it's successful. That's a really bad practice in production, but seeing as you're just starting out, I would recommend just like keeping it simple. But I don't know. You do what feels right. So then this is another example of how you add a user to a collection. I think you can just create this collection on the fly. So I don't think this actually has to be defined before you call this. So you could just put in like DB collection, YouTubers, and it would just automatically create that collection. And then you could just start adding things to it. So you would just put this, near your form, like you would get the form submission, right? You would listen for the form submission, and then whenever it was submitted, you would add the data to your users collection, and then you can read all of that data. So like this is an example of reading the data, and you would do DB collection users, and then you would say get, and then it's going to give you back what they call a query snapshot. I don't know why they name it something so complicated, but it's basically just a list of all your items. So you're going to say get to the users, and that's going to give you all of your users back. And then for each user, right, so you're going to loop over the list with for each. And for each user, you're going to have an ID, and you're going to have, and then you can get all their data by doing doc.data. So that's how they're going to store the data. It's going to be inside of the doc, and then you have to call a function on it in order to actually get the data. It's a tiny bit complicated, but it's not that bad, especially because you're getting a database just kind of for free that you can query and use very easily. And then this video is probably good to watch. But yeah, so after you do that, you'll have access to all the users, and then you can just loop through these users. So basically, remember we had the map earlier? So you could do something like this, where so what you would have is you'd have your app code. Let's go back. Okay, I really want to get to my framework a little bit today, but let's go through this one more time real quick. So this data is here already, right? And then you have this app component, and then you're rendering the data. But what you're normally going to do is you're going to have like a property on your component. So like React component. Let's search for React component real quick. So let's look for, I just want to see an example of like a property that you would have. Yeah, okay. So like, I mean, I don't want to like shortcut your learning, because I think, if you rush into this project, it's not going to be the best for you. Like if I just gave you all the answers, I don't think it'd be good. But I will give you like a little overview. So like this app component can have a constructor, and so that's going to go like inside of it, I believe. You can just do this. Okay, let's see. Unexpected semicolon, really? Okay, well, actually maybe not. So let's actually look at the top. Class. Okay, so you need, hey Red Hat Ranger, how's it going? What are you working on? What are you looking for in a live coding session? So yeah, actually you need to define it as a class. So you'll learn this about React as you go along. You can define components as just regular functions, and those are the simpler ones that are pretty much just going to have a render function. Or you can define it as a class, and then you're going to want to extend React component, and it's pretty much going to do the same thing. Let's see, where did we get this wrong? Okay, so we don't want the parentheses. And then we need a render function instead of return, right? So we can't just return it from a class. We have to do render, and then we're going to return in here. That's awesome. You just started learning React today. Render. Oh, I messed that up. Okay, cool. So yeah, so you just saw me convert the function. I think it's called a functional component. I'm not sure, but I think that's what it's called. So you just saw me convert that functional component into a class component. And now this class component, you can have more control over what they call the life cycle of the component. And then at the top, and then at the top of it, you're going to have something like the constructor, where you can pass in like the initial props for it. So this handle click. Okay, yeah, because we didn't define this yet. So this is where you can store the state of the component. And this is like where you put all of your data in terms of the component. And what you're going to want to do is when you load all of the data, into your application, then you're going to change the state of this component. So you're going to change it to, like you're going to load up your users, and then you're going to put the list of users into this. And then the nice thing about React is it's going to re-render the div based on the data that you passed into it, right? So that's just a basic overview. I strongly recommend checking out Wes Boss's tutorials. He's honestly the best teacher that I've found so far. And if you go into his courses, you can get React for Beginners. And it's a little bit, if you go to the bottom, it's a little bit expensive, $82. Like that's kind of expensive, but I guarantee you it's worth it. Like it will more than pay for itself in terms of like the jobs you're going to be able to get. It's super good. It's a super good tutorial. You're going to learn like everything you need to know about React with this. If you can't, Front-End Masters is also really good. I've used them too. They have some really good, strong teachers on there. Yeah, but if you search for like awesome technology, usually you'll get these like lists of things that are like tutorials and everything like that. So if you search like awesome React, you usually get like like all of these cool technologies that go along with it and cool tools. And if you search like tutorial here, you can see React tutorials. And if you go to React general tutorials, you got the official tutorial, thinking in React, using React in Visual Studio Code, Scrimba, free code camp, React cheat sheet, React patterns. And then if you go back, you can find even more. So like obviously don't get overwhelmed with this kind of stuff. Just like pick one tutorial and go with it. And I think if you just go with it, that's going to be for the best. So I think, what is React hooks? Oh man, dude, Red Hat Ranger, I'm building my own framework here, and you're making me explain React. I'm like trying to get away from React here. But okay, React hooks. I don't actually know that much about React, but I can take you through them real quick. So what are React hooks and why are React hooks? We'll just do it real quick, and then I'll probably end the stream so I can focus on the framework. Okay, so we saw earlier here, so when we did the code sandbox, if you're just starting out with React, by the way, go to the code sandbox. It's really cool to just play around with a project and get started with a project. So we saw here, remember how I converted this function into a component, like into a class? No, I know, dude. It's okay. I'm sorry, I got a little mad. I mean, I didn't get mad, but like, yeah, no, you're fine. I think I think it's awesome that you guys are learning React. It's a really good technology, and if you want a good job, it's a great place to start, definitely. Okay, so remember when we converted this into a class and we did like class app and then we did like extends React component? Is this how it worked? I think this is how it worked. And then we did render. Jeez, I gotta rewrite all this. Render. Oh, okay. No. Man, do you guys remember? I forget. I like forget what it looked like now. Okay, so we'll go into here. Extends React.component. So we don't have any class render. Oh, nothing was returned from render. Okay, okay. That's a good problem to have. So we'll do return and then that. Oh, I guess we didn't even have to have the parentheses. Okay, nice. So we converted the function into a React component, and I was explaining how you could have state in here, right? So like you can set it up with the constructor function, like at the top, right? And then you can say like this state equals. Oh yeah. So like this is how you set up like props. Props are just like the things, the data, like where you store your data. Okay, we need to put props in here. Okay, cool. So now we can have state on here. So now with the state, we can say like, I don't know, name is equal to like John, and then let's put in like John somewhere here. So we'll put, I guess we'll just put it at the top level. So just put a div, and I think we need the curly braces and then like this dot state dot name, and then we got John, right? So we can use the state of this component as data inside of the DOM, right? Inside of the HTML. Does that make sense to you guys? I'm gonna wait until you guys say you're following along. But if you're not following along, please ask questions and then I will clarify. Guys? Did I scare you off? Okay. Yes, but. So what is what's the but? Is there a but? is there a but? What am I making? So I'm actually working on building my own framework, but some people had a question about React. So I turned this live stream into a tutorial about React. So we're not making anything in particular, but we're kind of exploring what it's like to build a basic app in React. So I was just explaining that you can have like a functional component, which just looks like, we'll say like example, right? And then we can return some JSX from this. So I think we can just do like hello. And then let's try to render this example thing. So I think I might just be able to put it in here. Let's try it. Example, and we'll close it. So that didn't work. I think we might have to do maybe we have to do it like this, or maybe it has to be capitalized. I'm not sure. I thought this would work, maybe. Let's see. React functional component. So we'll look up a quick tutorial for this. So yeah, they're just returning the HTML headline. So yeah, as far as I know, this should work. I guess I guess the right way to do it, the kind of like standard way to do it, is to use a capital letter. Oh, okay, there we go. So now it's working. So wait, is it really that? So you can't use lowercase letters in React for components? Okay, that's fine, I guess. Okay, so now we know kind of the difference between like a functional component and like a full component, right? So this is like a class component. And this class component has a constructor where we can like handle the props and like set up the state for this component. And the state is just like the data. And then it has a render function, and it has an explicit render function. Whereas like the regular functional component is just a function. Like if you know what a function is in JavaScript, it's just you know, a piece of code that does something. It takes an input and has an output. And so you're able to just return the HTML itself or the JSX itself, and then it'll render that in your app. And so, for example, if we wanted to say like hello name, we could put like name here, and then we would do like curly braces name. And I think we have to pass this in as like props. Let's see. I want to take an argument to this. Okay, props. Oh, okay, so yeah, so you're not passing in props directly. So we'll say like value equals David, and then we'll say props.value. So here we do props dot value. So then it says hello David. So you can pass in props by just attaching attributes to your component, and then you can use props dot the name of the attribute to get access to the value that you attach to it. So functional components are just like a very easy way of creating components where you're just returning the rendered component, and you can pass in props to them you know, by attaching attributes. Well, so we could just do first name and then last name. John. What's a good last name? Or I guess if you pass in two parameters rather than the one that you pass. Yeah, exactly. So then we'll have props dot first name and then props dot last name. So yeah, it's a pretty easy way of writing a component, and all you have to use is a function. And then the reason why they have hooks is because before you used to, yeah, it's that easy. So before you used to have this like giant component. So this component has a constructor and a render function, and in order to set up props on this component, you have to like pass props into the constructor and then say super props, right? And so this kind of component, I don't want to convince you that there's no reason for using it. Sometimes you need this much control over your props and over your state, and you need to do very specific things. However, what they're suggesting is that a lot of your components can be transferred over to just functional components, which are much simpler than like the full components. And in order to do that, this component needs to have some state, because it needs to have some data that is its own. So in order to do that, they introduced hooks. And hooks allow you to edit the state on a functional component using useState. So let's go up to the top and we will do this import so that we can use state. And just so everyone knows, I'm kind of learning along with you. Like I've never used hooks before. I've just like seen some things about them. But yeah, we're learning React together. Okay, so we've got count and set count, and we're using state here, and we're starting. So this is the starting state of 0, and now count is going to give us the count. So it's going to give the actual value. So if we do count here, we should have 0. So we're going to say hello 0, and let's actually make this a little bit nicer. So we're going to put parentheses around this return so that we can have multiple lines. And then we're going to put a div here, and we're going to put bold points, bold, and then div, and then we're going to put the count in here. Okay. Oh, and adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. I thought they fixed this, but I guess not. So it looks like we have to wrap this in like a parent node so that there's just one. Okay, so now we have points, and we'll add like a couple breaks after this. And remember, you always have to close tags in React. So in normal HTML you don't have to, but in React you do. Okay, so now we've got points, and we're saying hello, first name, last name. Now the next thing we're going to do is increase the points. So I also don't know how to do this, but we're going to figure it out. I imagine it has something to do with set count. So we'll put a button here, and we'll say like increase points, and we'll close the button. And then I think React usually uses like onClick, and then they attach some kind of function to it. So let's see what they do in their own example. Set count. So they do onClick and then set count equals count plus 1. So that's pretty easy. So we're going to do onClick, and then we're creating the JavaScript context with the curly braces, and then we're doing an arrow function, and then we're calling set count. So I'd recommend that you guys always write out the code um, instead of copying it, because you'll learn a lot better if you actually write out the code. Okay, so we'll wrap this in curly braces, then we'll create a function, then we'll do set count, and then we'll do count, which is the current count, and then we'll do +1. Now when we click this increase points button, now we get the points going up. So that was pretty easy. And so now we have state on our functional component, and it's much simpler than our other component that had like the constructor and the render function, but we're still able to have state on it, right, with the count and the set state. And it's kind of magical, right? Because I mean, if you've worked with like JavaScript functions before, you're like, well, how does it know that this state is attached to this function? It's a little bit strange. But you can do other things with this too, where you could name these array items anything, right? So you could say name and set name, and then we could start with an empty string, and we could have an input box here, and we'll have input type text. So what's the purpose of props in that example function? So in this function, is this what you're talking about here? Or, oh, sorry. No. The one actually named example. Okay, what is the point of props? Yeah, we were just, they're being passed in from this main app component right here, first name and last name. And the point of it is just that we were learning how to pass props. There was no like overarching point. We were just learning that if we put a prop on here and we name it whatever we want, we're going to get it. We're going to get access to it on the props object. So we can just reference it from this other component using the props argument that's already automatically passed in. Okay, cool. So the so with the input, we're gonna say, I forget what we do with this. React on input. So forms. How do we get the updated state for this? So value on change. Okay, so on change, we'll say on change equals curly braces, and then we're going to create an arrow function in here, and we'll do set name equal to, and I think we want the value. So I think we're going to get the event in here. So we'll do target value. Now, in order to see this, we'll create an element right below here. That's going to display the name. So we'll do curly braces and we'll do name. This is getting kind of complicated, huh? With all these different elements. What is going on with this underline? NA is not defined. Wait, what? Name. Okay, there we go. Yeah, this Code Sandbox can be tiny bit buggy sometimes. Okay, so now we've got the name, and we're gonna put like a little label here. So we'll say like name equals name. And then when we type in here, it's gonna update there. Nice. I didn't actually, I'm like always surprised when this works. I'm like, oh, is this gonna work or not? Okay, so name equals name, and then I guess the other thing we want to do, okay, so like if this refreshes, our name's going to disappear from the input. So we want to make sure that the value is always set to the current name. So let's do value, and then we'll do name here. And now if we do this, and even if the page refreshes, nope, it resets the state. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I thought that was going to work, but no, I guess it resets the whole page. It resets all the data back to its initial state. So I'm not sure why you have value equal to name here. That's what they suggest here. Oh no, they set it to this dot state dot value. But yeah, they're in a React component. We're in a functional component, so it's much simpler. We're just using hooks to get this data. Yeah, so that's React. Any more questions about React? I'm gonna probably get back to my main framework code if we are done with React. I will take one more request. Any requests? No? Okay. Yeah, so I mentioned Wes Boss. He's like my favorite. If you have like money to spare, definitely buy his React for Beginners course. Um, if not, I would recommend the official tutorial. Like a lot of people ignore the official tutorials because they're like, oh, they can't be that great. React's is intensely amazing. Like you're not going to get better value than React's official tutorial. So if you guys are just starting out, I would recommend starting out with this. Okay, so back to, oh, and let me paste this link again. So this is like, what? Oh my god, no, it all disappeared. Oh no. I thought it would just automatically save. Is there an older version that I can get to somehow? Wait. Oh my goodness. Oh, that is heartbreaking. I just had all that code, right? And now it's all gone. Well, I guess you guys are gonna have to type it up. I was gonna share the link and then you guys could just use that. But yeah, sorry about that. We lost that code. It looks like. I don't think you can get to an older version of this. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Remake.js and making some documentation for that. So if you guys are, I know a lot of you are just starting out coding, and I know React seems like the coolest thing, and to be honest with you, you should probably learn it above everything else because it's going to increase your likelihood of getting a paycheck, like a big paycheck, much higher. However, if you're curious, you have a curious mind, and you want to pursue a framework on the side, I cannot recommend anything besides my own personal framework, Remake.js. So, Remake.js, if you go to remakejs.com, it'll redirect you to the GitHub documentation, which I am currently building out. You can see the site that's in development at site.remakejs. It looks really nice. It's got a really pretty logo. Remake.js is like 4 different little libraries that help you manage the state and the data on your page, and it's the next big thing. It's gonna take the web development world by storm. So you can see like some of Remake's goals here, and then you can see the public roadmap, which is just my my Trello board for Remake, and it has like a lot of stuff. But basically, at the end of the day, what I'm looking to do is create a web application framework that allows you to just use data attributes to create an entire web application. So like you're going to be able to write some HTML that looks kind of like this, and you're going to have an entire web application. And it's going to work just as well as anything you build with React or Vue. And you're going to be able to style it yourself and, create all kinds of, great looking things around it. But it's going to be much simpler to work with than something like React or Vue. You're not going to have components and components inside of components and trouble like sharing states and a million different plugins. You'll just be able to write data attributes and have, a web app. Now, I might be over-promising a tiny bit there, but I think it's pretty awesome. I love working with it. I've already built a full application with it, and yeah, I would recommend checking it out and following along with this channel as I build it out more. So for the rest of the channel, I'm sorry, but I have to kind of temper my eagerness to respond to questions. If you guys do have questions, feel free to ask, and I will try to answer them as best I can. But I'm mostly going to be focused on writing up documentation for the framework. Okay, and this documentation I'm going to share soon, probably by the end of the stream, and it's just going to be a quick reference, like an overview of the entire framework and what it can do. So this first component or library is called switch.js. It allows you to treat the DOM like a state machine, meaning you can toggle the state of one or more elements, turning a flag on or off. We'll say specified flag on or off. A switch, yeah, that's fine. So delete that. The first attribute, so we'll do like level 4 heading here. We'll say like attributes. Okay, cool. So the first one is data switches. It defines one or more switches, each of which can be turned on or off. The first argument is auto or no auto and controls whether the switch is automatically turned off when clicking elsewhere on the page. The second argument is a custom name that is applied whenever this switch name or the current switch is turned on. So we'll say switch name. Second argument is a custom switch name that is applied whenever the current switch is turned on. It's useful for grouping different switches under the same switch name. For example, inline edit component, or inline edit components. Okay, cool. Now the next one is the thing that allows you to turn the switch on. So if you put this data attribute on an element, it is going to, when you click an element with this attribute, it will turn the referenced switch on, off, or toggle it. That's an awkward phrasing. When you click an element with this attribute, it will turn the reference switch. It will toggle, turn off, or turn on the referenced switch. When you click an element with this attribute, it will toggle, turn off, or turn on the reference switch. So the reference switch is this first part, and then the second part is the the instruction of whether to toggle it or turn it on or off. And then the last one, yeah, I gotta make a note about that. So we'll say arguments here, and that's bold. So we'll say we'll have like a separate section for the arguments for each of the attributes, and we'll say arguments, and we'll say the first argument is on, off, or toggle. The second argument is ancestors or a number. Ancestors only, makes clicking this element only affect switches that are ancestors of the current element. Ancestors makes clicking this element. I just realized this might not be that interesting for most people, huh? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this interesting, or should I work on documentation not when I'm live streaming and save live streaming for building things? Ancestors of the current element. Okay, cool. It is. This is background noise for me, so do your thing. Cool. Okay, and using a number will make this switch. Hey, Salvin. It's going pretty good. We did a React tutorial for a while, and I created a bunch of code around React, but unfortunately I lost all of it because Code Sandbox, I think, doesn't autosave. So it was kind of annoying that we lost all that code. But now I'm back to working on Remake Jess. Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. But on the bright side, I actually encourage people to like type out the code manually. So I think that's really good practice. You don't just want to like copy and paste code. So I think it might be for the best at the end of the day. But now I'm back to Remake.js and making up some documentation for it. How are you doing? What are you working on? You used to write your code down just to be sure it was in your head. Yeah, it can, like, the difference between a thought and like the code actually working is so frustrating sometimes. Yeah, often I just need to like write it out. I feel bad too, you know, like if I'm like watching The Office or something. No problem, Red Hat Ranger. But like, yeah, if I'm like watching the Office with my wife, and like I'm thinking about a programming problem at the same time, and I'm just like, sorry, I just have to go in the other room, and like write this down. And yeah, I think sometimes it's a bit unfortunate, but if I need to get the thought out, then I just need to get it out. So using a number will only affect the nth switch on the page. I have a wife. How old am I? So you can guess. Maybe a few of you guess, and then I'll tell you. Yeah, if like two people guess my age, then I'll tell you guys. Okay, 27, says Sullivan. Need one more guess before I reveal. 36, 29, I am 33. So yeah, some of you guys get slow. Sometimes I get that that like yeah, 36. I know I like I definitely act really mature, so I appreciate it, Cardev. But yeah, I think a lot of people guess low because um, I don't know why. I don't know. I had someone come up to me at the train station like a year ago, and they were like, "No way, you're over 30." They thought I was like in college. I don't know. I live in a college town, so I think that's part of the reason. But also, I didn't have facial hair back then. I think that makes a big difference. I think people just like assume you're older when you have facial hair. Yeah, yeah. No, I think I look like a ton younger when I don't have hair. Oh, it's this hair. This hair? You think this makes me look younger? Yeah. Your little brother looks a lot like me. That's so I have an older sister, and oh, sorry. Oh my God. I have a younger sister, and she acts older than me. Like whenever we go out together, she like we always get like the question like, "Oh, so who's older?" And I'm always like me. Like I'm 3 years older than her. And people are like, "Oh, really? We thought she was older." And it's just because like she acts so much more mature than me. She's just like very well put together, well organized, like every like she yeah. So that's my story about my sister. Um, yeah, engineering web devs get married in their 40s. I think that, yeah, that probably would have been a good idea. I'm 34 and proudly not mature when I can. Yeah, I think being not mature is like definitely a skill. Um, definitely like something you need to keep up because society will just crush it out of you. No, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where sometimes it's easier to be mature and you're just like, I don't know. I don't want to complain about society. That's a silly thing to complain about. Um, but yeah, I think being immature and like keeping like a silly attitude is definitely a skill. Yeah. Someone pays me to make websites. Yeah, that's always surprising for me too. I just like, I have so much fun with it that sometimes really, uh, it's really confusing that like I'm making a living. Like, um, I make I like make web applications and I work from home and yeah sometimes I like get really worried because I'm like this is too good, it can't like this can't last kind of thing, but then I kind of realize like how much work it takes too because it really does take a lot out of me. um, I am 25 and not planning to get married till I get a house. Am I doing the right thing? um, Well, I think that if you meet the right person and you fall in love, it's not going to matter if you have a house or not. You're going to want to get married. Um, yeah, working from home can be really hard. I'm I don't know. I probably shouldn't like reveal this on stream, but I have like a little anxiety, so it's actually kind of hard for me right now. Um, So that's why I've been mostly sticking to home. My office was actually like like a few miles away, and I still would work from home. It's I don't know. It's a little embarrassing sometimes. Yeah, but I really like working out of cafes. I think like working out of cafes can be really like really awesome. You get like super productive because everyone around you is working too. So I totally get that. Like when I'm feeling not so anxious, I work out of like Starbucks or or like an indie cafe a lot. It's totally worth it too. You know, like you just pay like $5 for their overpriced coffee, and then you get to stay there for like the whole day. Um, Yeah, yeah, open space, office spaces. Um, yeah, it was definitely open space. So yeah, I'll tell you a little story about that. So I actually worked in like a really open space, co-working space, and it was nice because it was like everyone was warm and friendly. And so like I did get nervous and like kind of felt like people were judging me, and also like I couldn't focus because there was just like people were like like doing sales calls and talking and like negotiating, and like I'm trying to like code and focus, and it was just like way too much. But then we moved our office so that we got like a private office space, but it was literally like that room that the agents take Neo when they like remove his mouth um, in the Matrix. It was just like white walls on every side, no windows, like endless hallways that are just like the same thing, like white walls and no windows. You couldn't see outside at all. There was no nature, and it was like on the 11th floor, and it was the worst. It was so oppressive. Yeah, it was like it was like an asylum. Oh my goodness. I was like, wow, going from a busy open office space to this, like, this is so much worse. And I got like PTSD because that happened at another company too, where we were like on this really nice office space with like this huge open window, like the whole wall was a window, and you could just see the Boston skyline. And like my life was like, it was like okay at the time, but like that was one of the good things about my life is like that view. And then we moved into a basement with that was like all moist and soggy. So yeah, that reminded me of that. Any advice for someone who wants to change careers and get into software development? I'm in IT, but really found a passion for web development. Cardev asks. Um, yeah, I think building stuff is where to start. Like find a project that you're excited about and then build it. That's how I got started. Actually, I was trying to bring back a website that I really liked that that ended up going down, and um, and 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 so I rebuilt it from scratch. And during that time, I learned so much about web development that I was able to get a job. I like showed them, you know, what I had built, and then they hired me, and that was my first startup job. Oh, also work at a startup, because if you work at a startup, um, you can definitely get hired more easily, because they're just like looking for anyone. You know, they just want anyone who can help, and then you can like do different roles. You know, like you can like do a little sales, you can do a little marketing, and then you can do like a little web development. Startups are great because they're super flexible. Um, okay, so when you okay, I'll delete that one. Yeah, but I'd say go for it, Cardev. You got it. Can I ask Cardev what IT are you in? Like, what do you do? Um, Data analytics. So, what kind of data analytics do you write any code for it, or is it mostly like running reports? Writing dynamic cubes. Huh. Yeah, I think that's a good place to switch over because you're kind of already in the tech field. Um, One thing you could do, Cardev, is build an application that's related to your work. Because the cool thing about coding is that it touches everything. You know, like you can build a web app for like a car, like someone who's selling cars. You could build a web app for like teachers. You could build a web app for anyone. But if you have deep knowledge about a certain profession or a certain type of thing, you can use that knowledge to build a really useful web app for your industry. So if you start there, like if you imagine like a really useful web app for one of your analytics things. I kind of know analytics. It's like, but yeah, I would want to know more details, definitely. But so what I'm imagining is that like he has like information about visitors to his site and like where they're coming from, and who's purchasing things and who's not purchasing things, and then he runs reports on them to give to his company to say like, oh, when this advertising campaign went really well because um, you know we got so and so amount of people signed up through this promo code. I mean, it might not be consumer facing though. It could be a different type of analytics. So yeah, I definitely want to know more about what type of analytics you're into if you're comfortable sharing that. You work in the public sector? Hmm. I'm really curious about what dynamic cubes are. I don't know what a dynamic cube is. Oh, okay, cool. Wow. Cardiff, I have a friend actually that's looking to get into that. He's working with Google Data. What is it called? Google Data Studio. Have you worked with Google Data Studio? I have a friend who just started building products for people using Google Data Studio, and it's like creating dashboards um, based on data, uh, like this. Um, and then you can like edit them and create other dashboards. Like, yeah, I don't know. He just started. You do Cognos, but I'd be curious, like, if you have any resources I could point him to because he he's really interested in getting into your field. I like keep trying to get him into web development, and and he keeps going more towards this area. Okay. Cool. Good luck making the switch card of. And you click on an element with an attribute, it will prevent a switch from being turned on, off, or toggled. Okay, we've got notes for this. So the notes are that if you, the switch that is prevented, if a data switch actions attribute is attached to an element. Okay, I'm trying to explain this attribute right. So the data switch stop attribute, I'm pretty sure the way it works is that, let me see. I think I have notes about all these things, so it might help. Nope, I didn't make any notes about this. Okay, so let's look in the actual code. Okay. Just so you guys know, I'm probably going to be turning off the stream in like 15 minutes or so. And from now until then, I'll probably be like pretty low key. So I'll probably just be like working and like mumbling to myself every once in a while. But yeah, feel free to ask questions or talk or whatever. And I'll just be here. I'm feeling like kind of tired because it's been a long stream for me, a few hours. Okay. So switch.js. Nice. Okay, so data switch stop. I'm trying to figure out if this attribute yeah. Well, I've been making videos for a while. Like even at work, I make like a 20-minute like summary video every time I release a feature. So I've got a lot of practice, even though I haven't been like streaming. But yeah, it is a lot. It takes a lot out of you to like talk for a very long time and like engage with people for a very long time. It's like super exhausting. Yeah, I think it really helps my team at work. They really like it. But sometimes I go overboard. Like I made this onboarding video for a new hire, and it was 50 minutes, and I felt so bad. Oh my goodness. I was like, here's your corporate onboarding. Okay, stop. Let's see. So yeah, okay. So if the data switch actions attribute, if an element with a data switch actions attribute is clicked, no, let's see. So this stop attribute takes precedence if it's at a lower level than a data switch actions attribute. If it's at the same level, if it's at a lower level or the same level, as a data switch actions attribute. Okay, cool. Oh, actually, while I still got you guys here, I was curious, could I send you a survey? I was kind of curious like what why people like come to this stream and like what they're interested in learning about or what they're interested in doing. So I'm gonna just post this in the chat. If you guys could fill this out, it's like two questions, two like multiple choice questions, and it's just like, what do you want to learn about? Front-end development, back-end development, design, framework development, or other. And then like, why do you like watching live coding? And then like some like just four multiple choices. If you guys could answer this, I would really appreciate it. Would you? I'm answering this. So I have a better idea of what to focus on in my streams. That would be really helpful. It's just two questions. Okay. If it's closer to the element that was clicked, then an element with the or at the same level. If it's closer or at the same level to a element. Okay, that's fine. Okay, next, data switched on. So this attribute is set. Oh no, it should be checkboxes? Okay, I'll change it. I'll change it just for you, Sylvan. Solvin? I meant Solvin. There we go. Does that... I think it live updates, right? Okay, you got checkboxes now. Design and learning new things. Awesome. So we already got one response. Okay. So this attribute is set automatically when a switch is turned on. When there are no switches turned on, this attribute is removed. I think that's true. Okay, data O type allows you to attach data to the DOM and serialize it for easy extraction. It's attach data to the DOM and pull it out when you want to save it. What did you say? I suddenly realized that checkboxes don't help when you just want to say all of the above, and that's not helpful to you. Oh, okay. Huh. Well, it's kind of helpful. I mean, I guess it's kind of like you got multiple votes, but I don't mind that. I guess I could say like all of the above. Oops. Okay. So now you should have an option for all of the above. Okay. It's like, does anyone else find it weird when like a web application autosaves? I always like am not sure when it's saved and when it's not. I'm like never sure. Okay. So we'll go here. Allows you to attach data to the DOM and pull it out. Awesome. Thanks, Alvin. I think it'll be really helpful just to like know like, what are people's expectations, when they join a stream like this, like, do they just want to chat? Do they want to learn something? Do they want a tutorial? So do I have tests and what do I use? So I I don't really have tests. I'll just be frank. I don't really have tests. I have used tests. What I usually do is I'll like I'll I'll write an array. So Solvin, when I need tests, what I'll do is I'll write an array of like all of the tests, and then I'll run through them all. I'll like loop through them all, and then I'll output like console logs. Um, but usually I don't write tests. I just try to write really good code. I don't know if that's helpful or good advice, but yeah. I have a friend who just started coding, and he was like majorly guilting me about not having tests. So maybe that's something I should look into. I kind of like to pretend that I'm just like incredibly smart and I don't need tests because I just like write incredible code. But I'm not positive that's true. It might be true, but I'm not positive. Um, no, it's something that I've really wanted to look into. It's just with front end development, I think testing is a little bit harder. Uh, yeah, we need an add a regression. Yeah, so especially I would agree, especially at this point where I'm writing a framework and like if you look at this code, like I have like 17 different files that are all like working together for this framework. Um, and it would be really nice to know like if I add something, it's not gonna negatively affect something somewhere else that I just like totally forgot about. Um, yeah, I think tests would be a really good idea, but I do just want to say that um, it is a little bit hard on the front end to write tests because you're not just looking for an output. It's not just like you want to confirm that your calculator is able to add 1 plus 1 and produce 2. You're actually testing the DOM. So like a lot of the final result you're expecting is that um, this input is rendered with this class and these data attributes. And even more than that, you're wanting to know that it works. So like if you've done web development for a while, a lot of the bugs you run into are like usability bugs. Like they're not like 1 plus 1 equals 2 bugs. They're like the user clicked this and all of a sudden the input flickered and disappeared. And like that's because of some like weird like Firefox bug where you're using like some CSS property, with something else. And so that's kind of hard to test for. You need to use like automated browser testing. Oh yeah, your backend and you're used to Python. Well, so if you just want like testing ideas, there's Jasmine, and then there's Mocha. Uh, you could search like Mocha versus Jasmine versus Jest versus Karma versus Chai. I've heard a lot of good things about Mocha and Jasmine. I think Just is really uh, popular with the React community. Um, and yeah, this looks like a good article here. Use Just for unit and integration tests and Test Cafe for UI tests. Oh, and there's a new version of the guide. So this looks like a pretty good article. If you want like an overview. That's cool. Do you have any web projects you're currently working on, Selvin? Data to the DOM. Allows you to attach data to the DOM and okay. Guys, I have our chat. I'll say chat instead. Chat, I have a question for you. So I have this library that allows you to attach data to HTML elements and then extract that data. What would you think is a good way to say that? Would this make sense? Allows you to attach data to the DOM and extract that data? Or does the DOM not make sense? Um, so I have this library that allows you to like attach data to elements and then get that data from elements. From the elements. How would you phrase that? Like, does this make sense if you said like allows you to attach data to the DOM and extract that data? I use DOM a lot. Is that, would you prefer like elements, or would that make more sense? Allows you to attach data to like HTML elements and extract it? I don't know. I'm just having trouble phrasing this. I kind of like the DOM because it's like very specific. It's like the document object model. They're data attributes, but it's like you're able to serialize those data attributes into like a giant nested structure. So it's not okay. Oh, you gotta watch the ad. That sucks. Allows you to attach data to the DOM and extract that data. Oh, we'll wait until Salvin is back. If you guys have any ideas too, any of you all have any ideas? Oh, that's weird. The ad doesn't start, so the stream freezes. Huh, that's weird. Do you use an ad blocker? Okay, cool. So I have this library called Output.js, and it allows you to attach data to HTML elements by attaching data attributes. But that allows you to like serialize an entire nested DOM structure into like a giant nested object and arrays. So like basically you can turn a DOM tree into a deeply nested object of data. So that's what this library does, and I want a simple way of explaining what it does, and I'm thinking like allows you to attach data to the DOM and extract that data. Does that make sense? I'm like a little worried about some of the wording here. Like I'd actually be curious, like how many people here know what the DOM is? Like how many people know what DOM stands for? Because like if this is like a really unfamiliar word, then I don't want to use it. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Okay. So do you think this is okay? Allows you to attach data to the DOM and extract that data? No, it's the DOM in general, because it actually goes through the whole nested tree of the DOM and then uses that structure as the basis for the structure of the data. But I guess, I don't know. Yeah, DOM elements does sound better. Object model. No, you extract the data as a nested object. It's not as a document object model. It's not as the HTML. It's as the data. Allows you to attach data to DOM elements and extract the full data. And extract that data. I like DOM elements. I really like that. Allows you to attach data to DOM elements and extract that data as a nested object. And extract it as a deeply nested object, maybe? I don't know. Sometimes I'm like way too wordy. Allows you to attach data to DOM elements and extract it. I think that's fine. Yeah. I think my usual, like I usually swing towards being way too wordy, so I'll try to keep it down. Marks an element as an object as an object. Yeah. I just worry because you can also you can also extract it as an array. So like the top level can be an array and then it can have deeply nested objects in arrays, or the top level can be an object and it can have deeply nested objects in arrays. So it can be either one. So yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think the primary goal should probably just be like releasing the framework as early as possible. Um, Key value pairs. Am I going to be accepting outside PRs for this? Definitely. Absolutely. Yep. Um, as soon as people start showing an interest in the code, which I imagine is going to happen around the time I start building out a lot of example apps and showing how easy it is to use this, then I will publish the code and start accepting PRs. But yeah, as of now, I haven't released the code publicly. I guess I could put it up on GitHub if there's some interest. But I was thinking I might wait until I have like some actual example apps so that people actually have an idea of how to use it first. Um, uh, Yeah, go, shoot. I love random questions. So can this be used in a per page kind of thing? Um, yeah, it definitely can. So do you mean like you load it up on a single page on your website and then you just use it there and you don't use it anywhere else? Um, yeah, you could just use it one place. Absolutely. So the main use case of this framework is you have a server rendered application. So it's not, I know all the rage these days is about having a single page application with Vue.js or React.js. This framework's moving away from that. It's going back to the old days when there used to be like multi-page applications and you used to submit forms the old-fashioned way, using like a post request, like in the form instead of with Ajax. So all of that stuff is kind of what this is based around, and this framework allows you to add a lot of dynamic features to a server rendered application very quickly. So you can like build out your server rendered application. That's super easy, right? Because you're just rendering HTML and CSS. And then you can add Remake.js on top of that to add all of these kind of like single page app features that you'd get with React or Vue, but you're doing it in a much simpler way than React or Vue would let you. So that's the main idea behind it, and so you save a lot of time because you're not having to trudge through the React documentation and figure out these like weird, bugs or weird things, or installing like plugins like React Router or whatever. And then you're also saving on bundle size. So if like someone in India who like doesn't have a great internet connection is trying to download your massive React application that is taking up like half a megabyte, you might want to use Remake.js instead because it's going to be like under 100 kilobytes for this application, probably more like 40 kilobytes. And so it's going to load a lot faster. The page is all going to be server rendered. It's going to take up a lot less battery life. Like it's going to be so lightweight compared to most modern day front end applications, but you're going to have the same power as you do with React or Vue.js to like modify data and do all that kind of stuff and like create inline edit components and everything like that. Does that answer your question? I know that was kind of a long-winded response. You think so? Solvin, did I not explain something, or does it just not sound very very interesting? Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are going to have a similar reaction. They're going to be like skeptical at first, um, and kind of, like going back to the old days. Uh, so it's more like I'm not sure exactly what I want to do in the page I'm on about. What do you mean? I'm not sure exactly what I want to do in the page. Like that part with the data on the DOM elements and extracting it as an object. Oh yeah, ending page to send data back to the backend. Okay, yeah. So the yeah, it's a really good question. Like, why would you want to serialize the DOM? But um, okay, so I know this is a really badly designed application, But imagine you have a page and it knows how to render itself because you're using like a backend template with the data there. But you want to be able to live update it here. So you want to be able to like check this checkbox or change this to-do text or change this text or add a progress update. The whole point of Remake.js is that it's going to allow you to do all of that and modify the data on the page, kind of like it's a single page application. It's not going to reload it at all, but then it's going to automatically sync the data that's represented by the current state of the page back to the back end. So basically you're going to be able to like edit the page on the front end as much as you want, and it's going to be able to keep track of the data itself based on that, and it's going to be able to save it automatically, so it's going to know how to render itself in the future. So it lets you treat a server rendered application like it is a dynamic application that you can kind of edit on the fly. I don't know if that's the best sales pitch, but that's kind of the idea, is that if the DOM elements are tied to the data and they're inextricable from them, they're tied together, then when you edit the DOM, you're editing the data. And whenever you edit the DOM and subsequently edit the data, it's going to save it automatically. So your state is constantly being updated and saved, so you never have to worry about it getting out of sync or you having the wrong data. I don't know. It's kind of difficult to explain, to be honest. I think I need to do a better job thinking about that. Nice. Um, yeah, I think it would be cool to see someone else try to use it. I will try to. I mean, I guess I could just put up the code, but I feel like without enough documentation, it's not going to really be that useful. What I really want is to build like a simple sample application and like show how everything works together, and then like make a video. Yeah. And then once I have like a quick like 5-minute video tutorial on it, that along with the code, then it will be, yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll wait on releasing it. The attributes value. Okay, and we're gonna have a note here. So once I finish this section, so just one more attribute, I'm gonna say goodbye to the stream. It's been really a lot of fun streaming for this long, and I really appreciate all the questions and all the interest. I'm going to be on tomorrow around the same time. I plan to start 10 a.m. most days this week. And this is a special week. I'm not going to be on like every week like this because I usually have a day job. But this is my vacation. So I'm spending it with you guys. But yeah, so I'll be on tomorrow like 10 a.m., maybe 11 a.m. if you guys want to rejoin me. And if not, I will be on Thursday and Friday also, and maybe even some of the weekend. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. Also, I want to stop saying guys. I feel like there's a better word, like I could be like, I want to see some of y'all. I want to see some of y'all. I don't know. If you guys have any suggestions about a different word, I've been trying to get out of the habit of saying guys. Creates a key value pair. Okay, note. Yeah, what should I say? Should I say, hey gals? Oh, you don't care? Yeah, I think a lot of people don't care because guys, I feel like guys has kind of become gender neutral, but I think it's kind of nice to just use a different word too. But it's kind of hard. Like, y'all is not natural, but I think I could switch to it. Y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. How you doing? Y'all. What's up, y'all? Yeah, it's not too bad. Feels a little southern, but that's okay. Humans, creatures of Twitch world. Ooh, I like that one. Creatures of the night. Creatures of Twitch world. Folks. Folks. I honestly don't know how to say folks. I wish. Is it just like it feels weird? Folks. Is it just like Fokes? Is it how you would say Fokes? Folks. Like the L just kind of disappears, right? Folks. Like does folks rhyme with spokes? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Folks. I don't know. Does it feel I don't it feels like slightly uh not rude. It doesn't feel rude to me to say folks, but it feels slightly like sarcastic. Like even though I'm not saying it sarcastically, I like if you say folks out loud right now. If you say like if you guys try saying folks right now, does it feel sarcastic if you like referred to people as folks? Like if you went up to your friends and you were like, "Hey folks," right? You say folks a lot? Yeah, I think it okay. I don't know. Now I feel bad. I'll stop talking. Um, the value is simply the attribute's value. Okay, no. Oh man, what did I want to write here? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Canada, like people in Canada are super nice, aren't they? I feel like if you're super nice all the time and you're not like sarcastic like that often, you can get away with saying folks. Selectively nice. In the extracted data. Hey, Purple Haze, how's it going? I don't know if these alerts are telling me that you've joined or that you've been there for a while, but I'll just pretend like you just joined. How you doing, Purple Haze? In the extracted data, the key name will be camel cased. Will be camel case. Okay. Last attribute before I leave for the night. Okay. Let's see. Uh, this one's a little bit hard because I think I might be getting rid of it. I'm going to say deprecated. Um, but then I'm still going to document it just in case I want to keep it. Okay, so this will creates a key value pair on an element that already has the key is the part of the attribute that comes after data L key, while the value is gotten by first selecting and by using the first part gotten by um, looking in a property of an element. Value is gotten by looking in a property of an element specified by the selector. Well, the value is gotten by the method below. Let's see. I don't know how to say this right. Creates a key value pair based on an element that already has a data o type object attribute. The key is the part of the attribute that comes after, while the value is gotten in the using the example above by looking at the inner text of an element selected element inside the current element with the example class. Okay, cool. We'll say note. Should use a combination of data O key and data W key attributes instead of this. And the other note is by adding the string by replacing the attribute value with target, string target, you can have it look for a matching data L target element instead of the selector prop syntax. I don't know, that's super confusing. Whenever you create something and it's really hard to document, I think that's a good point to just stop and consider reworking it a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna head out, guys. This was a lot of fun. And if any of you guys haven't filled out the survey, it's like a simple 2-question survey. And it would really help me. It'll help me focus my stream better. I'll see you guys. No, not guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow around 10 a.m. Now I'm gonna say 11 a.m. just to give myself a little breathing room, just in case I'm a little late. Cool. Okay. Bye. Okay. See you guys. Thanks for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, Solvin. Have a great day.